The only real hope and change you'll ever get is from God. It's going to come from the Lord, or it's not going to come at all. It's going to come when you admit that you can't do it and that you've got to have His help.
Joining us right now from somewhere around the world, Mike from around the world.
Pastor Paul, God bless you, brother.
God bless, Mike. I'm so glad to be with you tonight. So,
That's
Mike,
awesome.
Mike, what's
Yes,
going on? Of course, I'm sorry I wasn't with you last night. Heidi did a great job, though, last week.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
I was on the hot seat.
Yeah, I heard it in your voice. I was listening. You was like, "Oh no," it's like, because she'll drill down, Mike. I'll let you.
Yep.
I'll let you pivot, but she won't.
Yeah, I can't get away with anything.
No.
With Heidi.
I know. All right. But Mike, there is a lot going on. Okay.
It is.
And I don't know where to start. I mean, one thing we're worried about: President Trump declaring. I mean, is he declaring war on Venezuela, or is he declaring war on? Can you tell me what's going on down there?
Well, it's it's a war front. That's why we have a War Department now, and the new mission is very aggressive. We have to anyway, Pastor Paul. We don't have that much time to get everything back in order. For a long time, the USA has lost its way as far as the U.S. military is concerned. And for anybody who would doubt that, just take a look at Chinese troops training, right? Take a look at some of the Russian troops who are out there in the bush day in and day out with they're doing hardcore things. And if we stood our soldiers toe to toe with China or Russia, it wouldn't look too good. And so we have to get a standard back. And I know a lot of people, they may not like Pete Hegseth, but if people would listen to what he's saying, right? If they would hear what he's saying and kind of take out the bias they have, they'll understand he's going back to having a real military.
Amen.
Right? Who upholds democracy,
Amen.
Not those who practice democracy. And we need that because without the military, our nation won't work.
No, we're in trouble, and so
we are.
So there's no doubt that there is there's serious movement militarily. We're not going to give anything away here, folks, but there's serious movement going on in the Caribbean area, and China is moving into the neighborhood. I mean, that's got to be part of the problem, right?
Yeah, they're expanding. They're expanding. Russia is expanding. They're not listening. You have Middle Eastern factions that still will not cooperate. It's a very difficult situation in the Middle East. But Russia itself, it's again, Putin has his eyes set on, the Soviet Union type thing there with Estonia and Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, of course, Russia and Georgia. That's going to be a big topic coming up soon. Georgia, had to be back in the news. But we have enemies on all fronts, and we have to get ready in a hurry. And when I say a hurry, we have to be ready in about, I give it an estimate. We have to be very serious about some of those things that are coming up. We're looking at probably a 20-day window, 25-day window. These other nations are becoming too aggressive. Now they also know. They also heard those speeches, right? So you better believe they're getting everything ready. They're hearing and watching the pulse of America. So they're gonna be hard charging in what they have to do.
Mike, we also have this information that Heidi shared earlier in the broadcast, where where the French general warned Europe must be ready for war tonight. Now he's saying basically that there's a serious danger now with Russia along with Belarus, along these NATO nations that you've just named, and it's from Poland, Romania, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Georgia. You're mentioning, we don't want to go to war. We don't want to have a war with Russia and NATO, but it seems like that Trump tried to bring some kind of peace to this whole thing with Ukraine.
Yeah.
And it's like nobody really wants it. Am I wrong by saying that, or it's
No,
just Russia don't want it?
No, it's a lot of nations that are split. And the only way they're going to be subdued or brought under the umbrella of logical thinking would be by strength. They will not listen to negotiations. Those have failed miserably for the last 30 years, right? So negotiations are out of the window. And you have Putin prodding into Poland. That's right in the Warsaw Pact member area. East Germany and Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, all those are, they're right there. And so, they have to be ready quickly because he'll continue to probe. And if he gets desperate, he's going to use bigger armaments, bigger offensive weapons.
Well, let me ask you this question, because this report also came out, Mike, and that is the G7 nations say they will target those continuing to increase Russian oil purchases.
Yep.
So can you tell us who are the countries who are really still heavily buying Russian oil?
Well, just about everybody. They never stopped. It's a very strange situation, and it really shows that a lot of their talk is simply to appease President Trump and certain NATO members when they're at the table. But when they go back to their countries, they're doing something else. And so they have to do something quick. It has to be effective. Their nation's falling apart all around us, right? People are nervous. And, there's going to be some aggressive behavior people are going to see. My opinion is we're about to see one of the greatest naval battles in history begin to, happen around the world.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Are you saying that it wouldn't just be U.S. Venezuela? It wouldn't just be, would it be naval battles in the Black Sea, in the Mediterranean Sea?
Everywhere. Would
South
be
Pacific?
We'd see it all over the place. At this time, we have all nations are included, right?
Okay.
The Western society, Western culture, we have many enemies. We just exported a lot of folks back to their homelands, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That does not come without retaliation. There's a lot of hatred directed towards America. Mm-hmm. There are severe threats that are, pointed at this nation, the UK, Germany. and frankly, as we talked about a month ago, Germany is easiest to get to, so they had better be ready for war. I don't know what took them so long. They're going to have to defend. They're going to have to really defend, because if Putin decides to go in there, he's going to open up that corridor, and you already have a lot of Islamic forces in that area.
You're right. You're right.
So what we see happening is, if the Bible is a really good anchor in this, we have a lot of Islamic forces all over Russia. They're all over the Middle East. They are.
Yep.
And they're beginning to, they're agitated. You have Iranian influence purging Christians and Western culture everywhere they claim. So we have a real developing situation against peace, which may prevail, and it may not allow peace at this time.
When you talk about Iranian influence, of course, Hamas, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, Houthis over in Yemen, some of the Shiite Muslims that are in Iraq, the Palestinian Authority. I mean, there's just everywhere. So let me ask you. I mean, Trump has basically tried to draw a red line. He's basically saying to Hamas, you got 3 or 4 days. If you don't accept this 20-point plan, then, you're done. I'm just going to step out of the way. I'm going to let Netanyahu just come in and finish off Gaza City and wipe you out. Or you could surrender now, give us back the hostages, the dead ones and the live ones, and have a safe passage out of Gaza to a different country and be exiled. This is your moment. Mike, what's going to happen?
Well, the longer they wait, the less you can trust them, right?
Yeah.
If they act at the last minute, can you really trust that?
No,
Do you
I
really
don't.
trust that?
No.
And being that Hamas is an ideology of which anybody can adopt, you really can't stop Hamas, right? Because you really can't identify who is Hamas and who is not. It's something in a person's mind. I do know you have a lot of young people who want revenge against their parents who were killed. And all they know is that Israel killed their children or their parents and their lifestyle and everything else. And so it's going to take, if the people, right, no external force is going to solve this problem. It's going to take the people internally to tell Hamas no, to start saying no, right, to organize and to begin to walk away from that militant type of activity. That's the only way. It's not going to happen externally. Any external force upon Hamas is going to do nothing but provoke other people with that ideology to rise up, sooner or later.
Okay,
so there's no getting rid of Hamas except internally.
So in other words, today, the synagogue attack on Yom Kippur in Manchester in the United Kingdom, a guy starts hollering, anti-Semitic statements, pulls out a knife. First, he drives his car and runs a couple of people over, jumps out, starts stabbing people. He kills 2. He severely wounds 3 before he's finally shot dead there in Manchester, England. Is this what you're saying? That the war with Hamas is not just in Gaza? Isn't it just basically everywhere that the Islamic migration has really taken place, really taken hold of Europe heavy, and got a good chunk of the United States and and Australia as well? Yeah,
so anybody who shares that ideology or is sympathetic to the cause of Hamas against the West, you're going to have Hamas, right? Because it's in the mind. It's not a uniform. It's in the mind of the individual who is from that particular region. So it's everywhere. There's no fight. You can't fight an ideology. You can't fight a faith. So it's going to take people from within simply to say no. They're going to have to organize from within and do it that way.
Then let's extend it now. Since you and I have been talking, or since last Thursday when you talked with Heidi, we had the attack on the the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormon church there in Michigan. Here you go. You got a guy driving his Chevy Silverado into the front door, sets the place on fire, and starts gunning people down. Is the war? Then we got the Jews at the synagogue on the Day of Atonement. So is this war? It's part ideology, Islamic, radical Islam against Jews and Christians, and then we have also the left. Do we have the radical left? Or in this case, this guy was probably mentally not all there. But I mean, is there a war going on that's beyond the borders of nations?
You bet. And because we are believers in Christ, we really ought to understand there is a strong spiritual influence over the entire world right now. This guy, that guy that blew up that
church,
the Mormon church, he said that the Mormon church was the Antichrist. Now his friends talked to him. There's audio of this guy talking. He didn't sound crazy. He just sounded convinced that they were the Antichrist, right? So now what type spirit would cause a person to really believe that somebody is the Antichrist strong enough that they would be patriotic to remove the Antichrist from their nation? That's called being delusional.
Yes.
And you remember, in the scriptures, it says that God would send them a strong delusion that they would believe a lie. It's almost like a line drawn between those who truly believe and those who don't. Those who don't believe, those who have pleasure in unrighteousness, those who stand apart from the truth and they have pleasure in unrighteousness, those are the very ones God will give over to a strong delusion. And if God gives them over, they're not going to escape, because a delusion is when a person thinks their reality is real. Yep. How can they escape? They're not going to escape.
Well, you bring up the strong delusion scripture. It's funny because it is actually talking about the Antichrist spirit. And that when the Antichrist, the man of sin, the lawless one, the wicked one, when he comes, well, people will be deceived and God will send them over to strong delusion. So here we go. We see it in practice. But it's going to be much bigger than just one guy, right?
It is. What's disturbing, Pastor Paul, is the people who have pleasure in unrighteousness. And the only righteousness I'm aware of is God's righteousness. So then everybody who has set their hearts to something else, I mean, sincerely set their hearts to something else, all those folks are going to be delusional.
Yes.
So then this Antichrist type activity will take place. Right? It's going to take place. It'll begin to expand. And in the Bible, it says that the love of many is going to wax colder and colder because iniquity abounds. The good news is, the more iniquity that people see, just like the Psalm says and Proverb says, that God will bring an end to iniquity forever once we see it flourish like the grass. In fact, that is the call of the harvest. When the iniquity is great in the earth, the command is for the angels to harvest the earth. So we're going to see a lot of iniquity. We're going to see a lot of those things happening. It's increasing. And right now the USA has to get ready on, the physical battlefront and the spiritual battlefront. You know what's amazing, though? They're getting ready on the spiritual battlefront as well in the Department of War. That's something.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. I watched Pete Hegseth's complete speech to the 800 generals, and it was incredible. I mean, actually, it was incredible. I mean, if you're a real soldier, you love what you just heard. If you're a real warrior, a real fighter, you're tired of this woke agenda. You're tired of all this DEI. You're tired of all this, sissified, stuff going on. And you want, if you're going to be, if my life is, if your fellow soldier's life is on the line, you want men who are ready to fight, men and women who are absolutely combat ready.
That's right. They know what they have to do. And God has set people aside, right? Everybody's at a different level. And the Lord has supplied the USA with those who will fight, right? Those who will strategize, and those who are highly spiritual, those who evangelize. So it's all on the same spectrum. Now, within those people, you're going to have some who believe and some who don't. God will sort that out. But as far as certain leaders are concerned, they have a Christian belief, right? They have a Christian belief. Right. They loathe certain things just like we all do, right? But they understand that without a war fighter, it's like a person sitting at their house and there are thieves all over the place. If you don't have a weapon to show, a real weapon to show, they're going to overrun you. But often, to a heathen, a weapon will cause them to keep going in the opposite direction.
Yes.
Right? Because we're not dealing with civil people in this case. We're dealing with people who are radicals. Right? And so if we have that show of strength, a real show of strength, chances are you don't have to use it. You always have to be prepared to utilize it. But if you don't have that show of strength, and during these games, I'm going to call them games, where the military was presenting themselves in front of President Trump, that was ridiculous. That I had never seen troops in a weaker state. They were out of shape.
Oh, you're talking about the parade.
It just did not.
Parade.
It did not look good. It didn't look good.
I think that's why this happened. I think
it didn't look good at all. And so, somehow we have to get back to real standards, right? It's not pretty. It's not designed to be pretty. It's a deterrent. It is a weapon. It's like a gun. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean you have to live by that gun. It doesn't mean you have to, utilize that gun, but it is a deterrent to somebody who recognizes that gun.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Period.
I think what you said about the parade, it was embarrassing, and that's partly why I think we've seen this change. But no more. Like, get everybody up to right standard, and if they can't cut it, get them out. You got to have everybody.
That's right. They got to go. Yeah. Because we adjusted the military to suit people who weren't fit for the military.
Which is ridiculous.
That's what happened.
That's how you get killed.
That's right. You don't do that. Yeah. You don't do that. But it's changing, and it has to change because, again, we have China. We have, other nations that have been training very hard for us. And there are people in the USA right now who are, intelligence they know what they hear. And there are people over here still, folks that they're ready to receive some sort of order or command to do what they have to do. And we have to be fully ready for that quickly. I mean, almost overnight quickly.
Well, that's what I think I hear the French general saying, that, hey, Europe, you better get in a position where you're ready to go to war tonight. That's how far off. We're not ready, is what he's basically saying. We got to get ready and get ready quick, because tonight might just be the night. It's getting serious.
Yes, it is.
Okay, Mike, also, there's some other things happening I wanted to get your question on, and that is, you talked about planes falling out of the sky, and we've been seeing it. We've been seeing it. But now, with the government shutdown and all that kind of stuff, immediately what happens? Well, we have 2 Delta planes colliding on the taxi and the runway in New York. And I don't know if that's because we don't have all the staff there, or if that's just, I don't know what to say. Are we in a dangerous situation right now with our air travel, with lack of staff?
It could be okay, but we have overworked air traffic controller personnel, right? It's not good for them to get fatigued and tired. They'll start making mistakes. We also have a problem with aircraft maintenance all throughout the airlines.
That's huge.
That's a big problem. Yeah, it's a big problem. Every single day, there are problems with brakes. Every single day, there are problems with engines. There are so many engines that have caught fire upon takeoff, right?
Yep.
It's, it's just not good. And because we have these atmospheric conditions, and we have an increase in iron in the atmosphere, that causes more rust, right? So they're going to have to go to other types of metals. They were trying to get the cheapest metals they possibly could. But as it turns out, rust is starting to really infiltrate a lot of, product that is just, that iron and steel base. So they're going to have to get rid of that and go, everything's going to have to be some sort of flight-worthy type of alloy.
So a lot of
something
our planes,
that's non-corrosive.
A lot of our planes are 30 and 35 years old.
Yeah, and if you have a bolt that is, not pure stainless steel, but just steel or something you missed, they're starting to fall apart. You have panels that are starting to fall apart. It's not the aluminum. It's not the aircraft aluminum. It's the rivets, some of the rivets and some of the maintenance rivets and bolts and things of that nature that are falling apart.
People used alternative cheap stuff.
Cheap, that's right.
Yeah,
they went cheap, and now that the atmosphere has a higher iron count, you could say, than it ever has before, anything that's metal is going to rust a lot. In fact, I can almost guarantee that most of your audience, if they mess with auto mechanics or something like that, they have noticed that things rusting faster than normal.
Yeah. Now, let's talk about this. Why is it you're saying that the atmosphere is got a higher content of iron?
Yep.
Creating this quicker rusting.
Yep.
What's causing that? I mean,
two things.
Tell us.
Two things. We have a greater iron content being released from the cold regions of the Earth, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. Is being released from icebergs and everything else. I mean, lots of iron, to where the water looks like there are blood waterfalls in several places in those Arctic regions, where you have glaciers melting that were full of iron, right? Looks like blood waterfalls is what it looks like. And then you have this increased particulates from space. Now, they continue to build up. Remember, we first started talking about the waves of energy, galactic cosmic rays, and things of that nature, right?
Yes, I do.
Well, we've had a lot of exotic particles coming in from outside the heliosphere, inside the solar system, that never stops. It's causing our atmosphere to become dense. As it becomes dense, it's warming up, right? As it warms up, humidity or the cloud has greater potential to carry more and more water. That whole process is known as atmospheric compression. And why is that? Because the pressure increases, of course, with a higher density thermosphere. It gets very hot up there. It's 5,000 degrees up there, right? So the more, and the reason why nothing burns up in the thermosphere is because there's not that much matter to transfer the heat one particulate to another. As that builds up, more and more heat gets transferred. You're actually going to be able to feel it. So over time, the Earth is going to begin to burn. I mean, really burn. And that's a real phenomenon. And it will hit a flashpoint. A flashpoint is when it gets to a degree where the temperature starts going up probably once a week. It'll go up that way instead of once every 2 to 5 years. And that's what we've been seeing on a very minor level. It also means everybody's bones and joints and everything else is going to hurt continuously with the higher pressures. And it also means that near the seacoasts and the coastlines, right, the water is going to evaporate about 3 times faster than it ever would. It's going to be like a boiling effect on your coastlines. So I suspect no one will be able to live on the coastlines due to, the conditions on the coastline.
Because the water is going to get too warm along the coastal area.
That the evaporation is going to cause humidity to be far too high. So you won't be able to breathe like that.
Yeah, you can't
right?
do it.
You can't breathe like that.
No. So, okay, in 2 Peter chapter 3, it talks about the earth will melt with a fervent heat. Even the elements are going to burn up, okay? And I realize that that's a process of time and maybe part of the judgment of God, but that's already in motion, isn't it?
I mean, it has to start somewhere.
It has to, because God just don't snap his fingers. He allows his cosmic creation to operate based on the law of gravity, the law of relativity, the law, the different laws. He allows those laws to operate, and at the same time, they have the ultimate result. And then he tells us it's going to happen, and then he warns us to do something about it where we stand with him, and yet we seem to just...
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, Revelation talks about the 7 bowls of judgment poured out. I mean, the sun is one of them, right, Mike? I mean, the sun is exploding with all kinds of plasma and CMEs and mass ejections. Isn't it all part of what God warned us would happen in the end times?
It is. And even, for an example, even right now, if our magnetosphere, right, say it went down for 28 seconds, just 28
seconds, okay.
In a certain part of the earth, do you not know that part of the earth would burst into flame?
What?
If we took the solar winds back to a time where they were half of what they are now, and let's just say the sun was extremely calm and extremely silent, even in that time, if you took down the Earth's magnetic shielding in any spot for about 28 days, it would burn everything to about 20 feet in the earth. Everything would be burnt. The dirt would turn to glass. Everything would change and be a crisp. That's the power of the solar winds. The only reason we're not burned up is because we have a magnetic shielding around the earth. If that ever leaves, we're going to burn up just like with a snap of a fingers. We're going to be toast. So, but here's the bad part. We all know the magnetic north has been moving all over the place.
Yeah.
According to historical data, and because every time the earth volcanoes erupt and everything else, they leave a magnetic signature of where the magnetic north was, right? Now, according to geology, according to the historical record in the earth, the magnetic poles have changed frequently. But every time they did change, something happened. When the North Pole began to move and the South Pole began to move, shortly after that, there was a chaotic time of the shielding of the earth. A chaotic time means you had certain areas of the earth not covered, other areas of the earth covered, and it was shifting. During this shifting process, vitrification took place on the surface of the planet, which means parts of the planet cooked instantly.
Really?
Turned into glass. People vaporized. Animals vaporized.
What?
Right?
What?
And the opposite happened with the freezing event.
Yeah.
As it's chaotic like this, it may block too much heat, and then you have instant freezing, where a bee was caught frozen in flight, getting whatever it was getting from a flower, actually frozen in ice in flight. Birds captured frozen in flight. Animals frozen while eating or drinking.
Woolly mammoth.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot more than the woolly mammoth, though. Lots of them. Even, see, they like to talk about the woolly mammoth because that was a long time ago. They don't want to talk about some of the recent species of animals. And that would scare people to pieces, right? So these events, they're cyclical. They happen, time goes by, they happen again. Time goes by, they happen again. That's why they've been searching for Planet X, because they've been looking for something that's a catalyst for these issues, right?
Right.
But as it turns out, in between these long durational cycles of the destruction that probably were caused by a destroyer of some type, there are about 4 or 5 different cycles of freezing and burning that take place. And we're in one of those cycles now.
Now, let me ask you, you talk about the solar winds. I just looked at, Heidi talked about it earlier in the broadcast tonight. Right now, the solar winds is 728 kilometers per second. Now, normally, those solar winds usually average around 333, okay? That's kind of like a normal. It goes up a little, like into the low 400s and sometimes down even. But, Mike, we've been seeing 500, 600, 700 constantly. That's your point. It's the solar winds are increasing dramatically, and the Earth is absorbing it. Our magnetosphere is under a ton of pressure, isn't it?
It is. It's also fluctuating due to a change of the interiors of the Earth, right?
Okay.
Because the interior of the Earth controls our magnetic shielding. But even if you were to cut the solar winds in half, those solar winds have the power to destroy all life on Earth.
So our magnetosphere is so important.
That's right. The only thing that stops that is that magnetic field around the Earth. And how it works is all that radioactive wind hits the magnetic shielding. Well, magnets have lines of force. Radiation follows magnetic lines of force. And they happen to go right into the interiors of the planet. Now, I'm about to give you part of a formula that I use in COT, just a part of it. Because some people have wondered, how in the world can anybody predict a solar flare? I think I did that 8 times in a row accurately with 8 different dates, right? Yep. And people wondered why.
I remember you doing that.
Here's part of it. When the solar winds are high, all that radiation goes inside the Earth. That's going to cause the magma to heat up. That magma is going to start to cause volcanic eruptions. These volcanic eruptions are quite predictable. Watch and see. We have high solar winds, and a few days later, it's going to cause a buildup in the Earth, which will result in some sort of magmatic event in the Earth. It's almost like clockwork. At the same time, every time the sun has some alteration in the speed of the winds to a certain degree, we know there's a chemistry change on that side of the sun.
Okay.
Now you can't see that, but it happens. It'll burn up some fuel on one part, but then it has to replenish. This can often cause a few, magnetic bands to form on the sun, which will eventually turn into a CME or something like that. And that's part of the process, right? That's without all the numerical data, of course, but that's part of the process. And both operate in tandem, right? And the heliosphere has a big part to play in solar flares, because you can actually get measurements on the weak parts of the heliosphere. And this is amazing. Every single time there's a weak spot on the heliosphere, why does the sun send a solar flare to that spot?
That's okay. Explain that, because I see that happen a lot. Why?
That is an amazing thing. The solar system is like a mechanism, right? Much like the mechanisms on the inside of the body. They operate automatically, but they keep balance no matter what. We've gone through turbulent times, yet the solar system somehow stayed in balance and life is still sustained. And I suspect it will always be that way until God's decree comes forth and it does not, and life is no longer sustained. Counting on that, then balance is going to be performed, And you can, by the weaknesses in the heliopause, you can then somewhat predict activities on the sun, especially if you can get a reading on certain radiation levels, intensities of light, things of that nature. And you can see these things coming. Now, if I can do it with my own stuff, if I can do it, well, then you know that bigger institutions can also do the same.
Absolutely.
And because they're not telling people means they're likely preparing for bigger things. Because if it were no big deal, they would have told everybody by now.
Yeah, it's a big deal. That's why they're building underground cities. That's why they're spending trillions of dollars to try to survive the apocalypse that they know is coming.
Yep, they are.
No doubt.
They are.
Let me ask you. Okay, we've gotten something coming, and it's called Comet, or no. Don't call it Comet yet. Not yet. Atlas 3I, this interstellar object coming about 137,000 miles a second, roaring toward us. It's the size of Manhattan. It's shooting off of it 90% nickel, 10% cyanide. We don't know where the iron is at. It's supposed to be there. But here's the key thing. Tomorrow, Mike, and here's a diagram. Tomorrow, it's going to come very close to Mars. Okay? And you can see it right up there at the top, guys, right there.
Right.
Very close to Mars. The odds of that was very, very, very low. Okay? Very low. But as it goes by Mars, it's also going to make a trip very close to Venus, very close to Jupiter, each time very close to all three of these major planets. The odds of this is based on the Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb said 1 in 20,000 chance. It's also anti-gravitational acceleration, which is not what a comet does. Matter of fact, nothing does. So, Mike, are they nervous about this thing, or are they watching it close? What is it? Do we know yet?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, all of a sudden, they're going to devote several craft to actually get data from it, right? All of a sudden. So, of course, they're going to get the numbers from it. That would be foolish not to get the data that they need from it. First, identification, right? Yeah. They need to enter in that data into an identification system that they can get a proper ident. Should something like that come by again, they're going to determine what it is. They're going to try and look through it naturally and dissect all that information. Now, it does have a very curious type of trajectory. It does.
It does. Yeah.
It really does. I was thinking about something, though. All we have seen so far is us, right? Yeah. So naturally, that's all people think about.
Is us.
But we know our Father's out there, and that he had Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed.
That's right.
He made several things happen, right? We know in the old days the destroyer had come. Yep. We know that what Egypt saw. We know that he followed the children of Israel. So God can easily set something in motion. Now, we may not understand all the physics behind it, but he can set things in motion. In fact, if I'm a subscriber to Genesis, that the stars of the heavens are for signs and for seasons, and if I'm not mistaken, that original word in Genesis is signals.
It's signals.
Right? For signals and seasons. So then these smaller objects like comets and things like that, especially when they have these peculiar trajectories, I would say that was highly purposed. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a craft. It means that it was sent, especially if the odds are almost slim to none that it would naturally do that. We have a habit of thinking everything is natural, right? I don't have that luxury anymore. So I know that some certain things are not natural. So we're looking at in the heavens, it's a timepiece. These, psychics and all these folks, they messed it up. But that's what Satan does. Satan will take something intimate to the Father, pervert it, and have people turn away from it. Yeah. Right? I think it's important that everybody understands God's creation. God put them up there, not Satan. So, yes, we need to know what they are because they dictate God's calendar. They dictate his appointed times. And the more we have an understanding of that, the more accurate we're going to be about certain seasons, right?
You're right.
But again, I think that object probably sent by the Most High.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So of course it's going to have some peculiar orbit. My bigger question is, what does it mean? What does that imply?
That's a great point.
What does it mean?
As you said, Genesis 1:14 says, "For God said, for there shall be signs." He said, "I created the sun, the moon, stars for signs or signals, and seasons for days and years, for your calendar." So he put a perfect rotation in place. That you could set a calendar by it. Okay. You could set your clock by it. The solar eclipses, we can set it to the minute, to the second when it's going to happen. And all right. So it's it would not be unreasonable that God would send something from the interstellar world, from another galaxy, to come by at a certain time prophetically for such a time as this. And didn't Jesus say that in the last days there'd be great signs and fearful sights in the heavens?
That's right.
Unexplained.
I had to be reminded every time the whole world sees a mystery. Those mysteries always have meaning. When the whole world sees it, but they have no narrative behind it, they always end up correlating with something significant every single time. So what does this thing mean, right? Regardless of what it is, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for us? So look at the time that's coming around that, though. One of the most important times and delicate times in modern day history of both the military and nations, especially Israel. This thing is coming around at a time where things are quite significant, and any move could be a defining move for all of humanity.
Yep.
So it certainly means something.
It
to
does.
its fullness, that would be my question. We, as far as alien species, at some point, we know that the old ones, and that's what I believe, I believe they're strung all throughout the solar system and beyond. I really do.
Yeah.
They're not bound to Earth, right? The ones that are bound to Earth can never escape from Earth, but they're more out there.
Yes.
We don't know how many angels God created.
Only
200 fell on Mount Hermon.
Right, according to the book of Enoch. And we know there was way more than 200 fallen angels. So,
Yep. And in Revelation, it says the stars will fall to the earth like figs when shaken up a mighty. So we're going to have some extra company down here for sure.
That's right.
And we know that Satan is cast down to the earth and his host of angels with him. And they lost the war in the heavens, so they have no more place in the heavens. So, but they could be everywhere, right? They can appear as anything. As far as meeting ET, I would not trust it, because the Lord gave us His word.
Amen.
And He spoke nothing about anybody coming to give us a different word.
No.
Right?
No.
And every time people have encounters with aliens, they call them, right? They always tell the person that Jesus was one of them, and that they themselves are gods. The same thing Satan said a long time ago. So why would an ET come all that way just to tell us subscribe to New Age religion? That's ridiculous. Right. So we know what they are. We know what they are. We know. But at some point, they're going to manifest in this physical realm, right? They're not going to be hidden like they are now. I believe that many of them are. Well, if you ever see somebody drink something and they don't swallow, well, you know what you saw. How about that?
Okay.
You know exactly what you saw. Because everybody has to swallow. They use their, little things happen. But if you ever see somebody just stand there and dump stuff down their throat and nothing happens, that person is different.
Oh, so we
just don't stare at them. Don't stare at them too much.
We entertain angels unaware. Some of them are good, but we might even be entertaining some of them that are bad.
There are lots of bad ones. Okay. Lots of bad ones.
Okay.
Positioned strategically, but they do not swallow. None of them swallow.
That's a great point. I'll watch closer now, but I won't stare. I'll keep my shades on.
Just saying.
I'll wear my shades for a lot of reasons, folks. Okay.
Side-eye 'em.
Mike, also, look at these holes that are opening up. Look at this in Texas. I mean, 70
it's
foot.
terrible, isn't it?
And while that's going on all over the world, we got 5 houses falling into the ocean in North Carolina.
It's the rain and the heat causing that effect.
And isn't that also your salt water intrusion?
Yeah. What happens when a city? What would happen? What would happen if, say, like in I'm not going to name a city, but what would happen if people in that city, 1/4 of that city dropped 5 feet all at one time?
No.
That would be the loudest bang anybody ever heard.
No.
It would scare people to pieces. Right? People ought to get ready for that. because it rains, right? That rain hits the ground, floods happen, everything else, and then it's absorbed in the ground. But the heat returns, drying up the surface. The water erodes near the bottom, so it's kind of like concrete. But it leaves these big holes, right? And with these big holes, especially when you have saltwater intrusion, it takes away the soil. When it can no longer hold the weight above it, it caves in. Pastor, that's all over the earth. They already know this. They can x-ray the ground. They can see this from space. They can see all the holes just waiting to happen. And so what you see right there will happen all over the place.
So in other words, get ready for major amounts of population. And because you know everybody builds along the seashore. Everybody wants a ocean view property.
No, they're gonna move away. They're gonna move away.
So it's
gonna move away.
Is this why insurances are canceling all flood insurance and all wind insurance and all hurricane insurance?
Yeah, they're not gonna cover that. They're not even covering for meteorites, because somebody has tipped off these insurance companies that we're gonna have more and more atmospheric incursions. Right, they will eventually start to leave fires all over the place.
Well, we just had Heidi did. I don't know if Heidi talked about it tonight or not in the first hour while I was resting my jaw, but there was 9 near miss, and I'm talking 0.2 or less, scraping past the earth in the last week. 9 of them. 2 of them, it said hit the earth somewhere because it just said it hit. So we were trying to figure out where. We know one was very close to Connecticut, or probably hit in the Atlantic, and one very close to New Zealand. But it's happening everywhere. We're having impacts, and it's increasing, which I think you said that was going to happen.
Yep, it sure will. It will.
So,
yeah, that will quickly turn into uncontrollable fires. So there's some very unexpected things that will interrupt the plans of most people. But you can imagine, Pastor Paul, the first major catastrophe caused by something like that, these other nations are going to take full advantage of it. That's a caution in my spirit that people, they have the information. They have people like your son that will get the information out there.
Yeah.
Now's the time not only to get the information, but they also have to start to prepare for the worst. If they can be prepared, we're not going to be ready until something actually happens. But we can prepare, be prepared for the worst case scenario, and continue to live your life.
Are you concerned that we're going to see an increase in volcanoes and volcanism?
Yes. Oh, yes. Big time.
And not just the volcanoes like are over my shoulder here, but the ones that we can't see down in the ocean.
Big time. Again, the solar winds, and you mentioned the increase in the solar winds, right?
Yes.
Volcanic eruptions will follow. They will follow. That with volcanic eruptions, with the increase of heat of magma, you're going to have a buildup of pressure. That causes tremors and earthquakes. It's going to cause a lot of volcanism. Watch out for Mexico and places in that vicinity. There's a concentration of them there, and of course, when that goes, the coast plate will no longer hold. The San Andreas fault line's stability just won't be there anymore. Right? That plate goes, all bets are off.
Yeah, and they are really, we're in a danger zone for sure. America has several different serious plates we know about San Andreas fault line. We know Cascadia subduction zone certainly is one. And we're concerned about, some other areas, North Atlantic up there in New York now. We're starting to see earthquakes up there, Mike. You said that about 10 years ago, watch and see it was going to happen.
Yeah, those are the fault lines they didn't talk about.
No.
And there's a caldera below New York.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
isn't there something about America, though? America has the worst storms. Nobody sees storms like America.
That's true.
Nobody. Right? We have the worst earthquakes, we have the worst everything. We're held together by grace. We really are held together by grace. There's no way we should have held together this long. We're held together by grace. And the way the populace is I pray that this influence of Christianity continues, sustains, because I know when it begins to fall off in America, any more than it already has, when this other side raises up, and they will, we're going to see just an almost an overnight increase in these disasters.
I mean, this year, just this year, it's kind of amazing that we haven't been hit with a hurricane so far. But if you look at America overall, we get the worst hurricanes, we get the worst earthquakes, the worst tornadoes,
thunderstorms, tornadoes,
rain bombs, lightning strikes, hailstorms, straight line winds. I mean,
that's right.
We get the worst. And so you made a great statement when you said we're held together by grace.
Yes, we are.
But we better not turn our back on God. And
we already know what's going to happen if we do. The potential is there.
And I'm telling you, this country was swinging. We were giving God the cold shoulder. I'll say that.
We were. And things were getting worse.
Yeah, they were.
Things were getting worse. Look, it's so amazing because there's been a lot of prayer lately, right?
Yes.
Look what happened to these hurricanes. When was the last time? When these two hurricanes came up, I didn't talk about them much.
Nope.
Because in my mind, I'm saying, Lord, these people in Carolina, they can't take that again. These people in Nashville, they can't take that again. And so what are the chances a tropical storm will start to come in our direction, and a hurricane come in our direction, but take away the other tropical storm out to sea? What are the chances? What are they? They can call that happenstance, coincidence. They can call it whatever they want. I would call that grace.
Amen.
Now, every time, if we can identify the grace, God will also show the opposite. So that means if you start having these outspoken people in these protests begin to speak against the Lord, watch what happens. Just watch. Now, but it's not going to happen to the unrighteous. I've also noticed something else. God will take his people and maneuver them without them even knowing. He will. He maneuvers his people into certain areas. When they are in certain areas, then the event will take place. It's almost as if God will move his people out of areas he does not want them in, that he's about to demonstrate on, right? He'll move them. And then that area that's void of God's people, they'll have a demonstration. Something awful will happen in that place. I've seen that so many different times. So many times it's not funny. Even the twins, there's a story just like that with the Twin Towers.
Okay.
Something very special happened with a lot of people during that time with at 9/11. Whether it was man-made, whether it was friend or foe did it, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord still, he always does this thing every single time. And those who are believers, who are found in those areas, they end up ministering to those who are on their last leg. They're like last chance disciples sent out there or something, right?
Yeah.
So in other words, the Lord has, he really has ensured our future based upon who we are, how he sent us here. So nobody's really going to be overwhelmed. We have a responsibility to work within that realm of what God gave us, but we're not going to be overwhelmed. None of us are. No believers are. It always looks like we are, but we never are. Have you noticed that? It looks like we're going to be overwhelmed, but never takes place. And everything we've gone through, somehow we've been able to take it. We've been able to, right? Shows a level of strength for each of us.
It's wonderful. It's God's grace. It really is.
It is.
It is amazing grace that it really is. Let me ask you a question. I don't understand why they're dumping 45,000 gallons of radioactive water into the Hudson River. Do you like that, Mike?
I don't know what that makes no sense. Radiation. Well, radiation is cumulative. I don't know how much they think.
Well, they think they can clean it. They said. Can you clean radiation out of the water?
No, you can dilute it. You can't clean radiation. I don't see that happen.
Well, Kathy
radiation.
Kathy Hochul just signed a bill saying that they can do it, and that and 100,000 people get their drinking water from the Hudson River. I just don't understand dumping. I mean, first of all, these are the people who say they are the EPA kings and queens.
Yeah.
Okay. But they're the ones that's going to dump the 45,000 gallons of radioactive water into the Hudson River.
Not good. Probably they determined it may be at a low REMS or something like that. maybe I don't know. I'd have to see how many rems are measuring in the water, right? Because we can only take so much, and radiation is cumulative, which means the more you're exposed to, the less you can be exposed to because it does not go away. Or the other option is they simply don't care.
Oh, there you go, Mike. Oh, there you go. I mean, we didn't want to go there, but is it warning? They don't care. And oh, by the way,
they may not care.
But what if the company that is dumping it and is also your largest campaign contributor? Does that make a difference in the quality of the water?
I tell you.
Don't drink the water. Don't drink.
Yeah, don't do that. The Kool-Aid. Don't make Kool-Aid with that water.
No. Not even Jim Jones can help you on that one.
No.
Okay.
That is terribly sad, though.
Yes, horrible.
With all the talk about saving things, and then
the spotted owl.
Nobody would make that decision.
No.
This isn't Chernobyl.
Nobody wants. Yet we'll shut down. We won't pump water out of the northwestern portion of the country into the areas that are drastically low in California when we could run a pipeline with clean water, because we're afraid we're going to lose a couple smelts over there, some kind of little bitty and I'm not against the little bitty guys, but I mean
it's just bad. That's bad. The water's bad already. That water's bad already.
Yeah, the Hudson River is not like, the Crystal Sea in heaven.
No, because you have to get shots. If you jump in the Hudson River, you got to get shots when you come out.
Well, yeah, you're going to get malaria or
everything.
Ebola or typhoid or something.
It is not good.
I promise you'll get some kind of Legionnaire. I don't know what you'll get. But
I hope that's just posturing or just maybe some diversion. I hope that's not real.
It's real.
Because that would be incredibly foolish
a federal
for them to
judge
actually do that.
Federal judge ruled in favor of the New Jersey-based Holtic International, which sued the New York City last year, challenging the state's ban on discharging radiological substances from its defunct Indian Point nuclear plant would hinder their profitability. Kathy Hochul, though, signed the bill into law after the judge ruled it and cleared the way. 45,000
people can change that. People can change that. People need, what they should do? They should demand a full report on the radiation levels of that water. The people can stop that judge's decision. They can demand a full report on the radiation levels of that water.
I agree.
They can stop that whole thing.
Somebody's
the people can do that. The people can do that. They can do that.
Amen.
They can stop it.
That's
all they have to do is demand a report on the radiation levels of that water. That means a full inspection. That means that they're not going to be dumping that stuff in that won't happen this year or next year.
You can't. I mean, I don't get it. I don't
So
understand.
the people have to, Passpal, it's like we live in a day. I know a lot of people look to their leaders to fix everything.
Yeah.
I think that people are going to start finding out that, they're going to have to do their diligence also.
Got to push
They're going to have to do that.
We're going to have to push back.
They're going to have to do that.
Yeah. Well, what about Flint?
They're going to have to stand up.
Do you remember Flint, Michigan, when Obama was there?
Yes.
They wanted to run it. So they pumped the Flint River into the pipes, but the pipes were made of lead. So you know what I'm saying? It rusted
But you see what happened though, right? The people blindly trusted another person just because. I'll say this: just because a person is in Congress or wherever they are does not mean they're trustworthy in all things.
No,
right?
No.
They could be blind in certain areas. People have to stand up, and they're going to have to start checking behind everything that's done. That's why I like your son's idea about the news, because back in the day, they would report on the facts for accountability.
Right.
They did not have an opinion.
Right.
It was important that people understood what was happening. But nowadays, it's very difficult to find out what's happening because they, just like this government shutdown, the Democrats are saying yes because the Republicans want to do something with, $2 billion. And then the Democrats want to do something with $2 billion. When you look at that, the problem is this: that Democrats and Republicans speak two different languages.
That's right.
They do. And they have to. Now, the Republicans this time, they didn't say anything. It was a continuing resolution with no attachments.
Yeah.
And they actually told the truth. But what the Democrats got mad at is they're not able to maneuver the healthcare things
Right.
In this continuing resolution. What they don't understand is, what I don't really like is, first of all, there should be no reason ever that the government should be able to shut down. And if they ever get to this point again, we should lock them all in one chamber with a suspension of everything. Just lock them out of the world until they come to a conclusion.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this is posturing. Because I don't know about anybody else out there, but when people continue to say, well, what the people want, they use that term, but have they spoken to any of your audience?
No, nobody asked me. Did anybody ask any of you out there?
How do they know what the people want?
They don't know
and
what
the people
want.
need to rise up and say, no, this is not what we want, right?
Right.
That's all they have to do, and they can shut the whole thing down. They can shut the whole thing down.
It's ridiculous.
But that will take people standing up.
Again, but again, that's what this country was built on. A constitution of the people, for the people, by the people, not by the politicians. I know we're a republic, and I understand we have representation, okay? But when that representation gets so corrupt and they don't listen no longer to the will of the people, then the people got to stand up. Remember the Tea Party? I mean, we did that because England no longer was listening to us.
Yep.
The taxpayers were not being heard. What's the same?
In America,
it's the same principle, right?
Yeah, because in America we have the power of petition.
Yes.
Forget a protest.
Just
put
petition. Put it on paper.
Put it on paper and send it up there, and they have no choice, right?
Yeah.
That's the most efficient way to do it.
Because
because they're not speaking to everybody. They're speaking for people. They're telling, if everybody out there is fine, there's somebody else telling you what you want. Great. But I don't think people want a shutdown.
And let me ask you a question. In today's modern world of technology, do we really need 100 people running around the halls of Congress? Can't we just let the people vote from their own?
Well, don't worry. I think they fixed that with this shutdown.
Oh, really?
They shouldn't have had this shutdown. I'll put it that way.
What's going to happen, Mike? What's going?
Well, there's going to be
some changes. There's going to be some changes.
Yeah.
Is government going to get a little smaller? Do you think, or
it's going to change completely?
Okay.
Government's going to change. In fact, I'll say this. We think government is one way. They just have not presented what the government actually is yet. How about that? What gives me a great moment of pause is, although there are common sense things being put in place, there are. And, there are common sense things sometimes from many different directions, but I know someone's coming forward. And when they come forward, then both Democrats and Republicans will fall to their knees and weep. That much I know, because they'll understand that they handed all this authority to the wrong entity. Period.
Oh, no.
That's what they're going to discover.
Oh, no. That's going to be a sad day, isn't it?
Yep, and that day is going to be a lot sooner than we think.
There you go, folks. Warning. Jesus is coming. That's one good thing. But and we know that. But hey, what's going to happen?
Doesn't the Bible say we're going to see that man of perdition first?
Yes.
We're going to see him.
It does say that.
We're going to see he has to be revealed first.
He is going to be revealed first. Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants to take a quick exit out of here. But I'm all with everybody if you want to leave. But here's the problem. We got to first see the man of sin must be revealed first. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's that collectively. Pastor, last night I told everybody, I said, everybody ought to understand something. You will leave. You're leaving this earth. People have left already.
Yeah.
You're leaving. And so if you think with that mindset that, yes, you're leaving, you can leave everything behind. There should be no pressure in a person's life.
That's right.
Because they have to make preparations for those they love.
Yeah.
To leave them some instruction.
But you're leaving everything.
So they can get through.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
That's right, because there are people leaving tonight. Today is their last day. They don't even know it. In 5 minutes, somebody else is going to go. They don't know it. They're going to be with the Lord, fully delivered. They will have made it, but we're left behind to continue this thing. Right. And if we so happen to live to see this beast We have to be fully prepared for that. Because if we think we're going to see him and we're just not going to agree with anything he says, that's almost like saying we're going to walk every single day going forward without sinning, even coming close to sin. We know that's not real.
Well, Mike,
the body has reactions, things can happen, and the beast is very sneaky.
Now you've just opened a can of worms that we have to answer now. I knew Vietnam has passed it. They're going to the biometric system, a digital ID of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now we saw Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. I watched him say it. He goes, it is going to affect. If you don't go get your digital ID, you can't work in the United Kingdom. He said, I'm telling you, you can't work in this country without a digital ID. Hear me loud and clear. And I was sitting there listening and saying, it's coming. They're rolling this train's coming down this track. And it's not just going to be the UK. It's not just going to be the EU. It's going to be the United States. The whole world is going under a new system, Mike.
That's right. And here's the kicker. To keep those services. All right, people are going to get this stuff in. To keep it, that's where the mark
You're going to have to get the system.
That's where the mark comes in. To keep their digital ID, right? They're going to have to become a citizen of a brand new union.
Yeah.
They're going to have to renounce all sovereignties, renounce all religions, except the one that belongs to that specific union.
I think the last...
So to be one big, huge continent type thing, right?
Yes,
one
you're
big,
right.
huge nation, and they're going to have to accept the religion of that nation.
Or else.
They're going to have to denounce everything else. That will be the mark. Or they won't be a citizen. And if you're not a citizen, you cannot buy or sell.
Folks, I don't know if you know this, but I don't know if it's this month or at the end of the year, but the last Social Security check will be printed. I think it's the first day of January, but I'm not sure. It could be sooner. There'll be no more checks printed. You have to have a direct deposit. There will be no more checks put in the mail and mailed to people.
Yeah.
Now, that's going to make it very difficult for several million people who are homeless, people live in shelters, folks that don't have an actual address, or people who don't have bank accounts, okay? Because you got to have an established bank account so that you can tell the Social Security office where to send your money in to be. It's going to
have a routing number.
It's got to happen. And this is the beginning, okay? This is just the beginning of how this thing is coming down.
And the veterans out there, right?
Yep.
You know, they have a veterans bank now.
Okay.
So if a veteran does not have a bank account, they can now have one with the government. Also, the government has a system where you can buy or sell through the government. Yep. So that because they have been discouraging the homeless in every state. Have you noticed that?
Oh yes.
There's going to be no more homeless here shortly. No more homeless. They're going to be tagged as something else. So there's going to be full accountability of everybody.
Mike, they're building gigantic the internment camps.
Yes, they are.
Somebody's going there.
Yeah, they are.
Somebody's going to get scooped up, and that's where they're going. And we're not talking about illegal immigrants either. We're talking about Americans, non-compliant Americans.
That's right.
You know,
we have a lot. We have a lot coming in this nation. A lot will be in place by December. Yep. By December, it'll be in place. So people ought to get ready because things are moving fast. I mean, I guarantee you, people are going to say, "I had no idea things can move this fast," but things are moving fast.
Yep. So, folks, when we said warning tonight, that's what we meant. We're in that time now. We've entered into a different era. Christians have to be strong in their faith. Don't get weak now. I mean, what are you going to do? Where are you going to turn? Where are you going to run? Might as well get strong in your faith because this is the era we're in. This is why we've been doing these shows. We've been telling you it's the coming apocalypse or the coming revelation or revealing, unveiling of these end times.
Amen.
Mike, thank you so much for being here again tonight. Once again, you're knocking the ball out of the park. I appreciate it greatly.
Fastball's always an honor. Always an honor.
No, the honor is mine, believe me, and the audience. We all say that. Thank you.
Okay,
God
Pastor
bless
Paul.
you, brother.
God bless you, brother.
God bless you. All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
COT's base of operations is right here at thecounciloftime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast. Anything COT does is by the main page here at thecounciloftime.com.
Notice also in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boastful, proud, blasphemers. It takes the grace of God to change us, folks. How can you be saved if you're not willing to repent? And the Lord Jesus Christ said, except you repent, you shall all likewise perish.